Hey, everybody, it's Bill from Matt-Trakker.com, and issue number 2 of M.A.S.K 85 was released last weekend. And if you haven't got a chance to read it yet, here's a link. Actually, just go to my website if you want to see it. It's right on the top bar. Um, it's also in some of our Facebook groups if you want to jump in there and give a shout out to the creator. Uh, this is a 4-part series. We're on issue 2, and well, I can't do it justice. I'm going to try to, but I don't think I can. It's such an amazing feat to do the story, the artwork, the coloring, all yourself. It's pretty monumental. And I'm honored that the artist is letting me post it on the website. I just want to get as much exposure for him as I can because I just hope it leads to great things for him. So as I said, we're on issue number 2 of 4. And what I'm going to do is, like the last time, I'm going to be looking at the screen so I can read it. But anything I talk about in detail, I'll post up on this side of me over here. So, and Iris is there. She read it earlier. She's already ready for bed. She likes a good story before laying down. So, and if you see me waving my hand around and wonder what happened here, don't use a mandolin. So that's all. All right, so let's start with the cover. You got Brad Turner, and if you remember in the first one, Brad was kind of being introduced, and he wasn't in action yet on his own. He was kind of piggybacking off of the other agents. So on the cover, I'm guessing that Brad might have more of a prominent role in this one, but let's see. So here's the cover. Condor, the Hocus Pocus mask, doing his thing. Got Boulder Hill in the background. And these shots here on page 1, we'll call it, you have the masks, and you can see the premise of this one's going to be more in the beginning here of how Mayhem is going to eventually turn on Andy. And you can see it right here. You can see the look in Mayhem's eyes. You see Andy, he's like, yeah, we're going to save the world. And Mayhem's like, nope, not happening. So we're going to go down a little bit here. We're going to go to the next page. And, Mayhem's talking. They're going back and forth. And, Andy's like, we can save the world from wars. There's all kinds of things we could do with these masks. And Mayhem is talking about power and money, and it's the way that you have the two polar opposites essentially, and it makes you wonder if Andy ever really thought that Miles could do this, could turn on him the way that he does. We see that some of the masks are already created here, but Spectrum isn't done yet. Andy's talking about Spectrum. He's talking about the functionality of it, and it's a cool feature to put into the story because, as you know, in the cartoon and all the other comics and the toy line, you can see it in the commercials. Spectrum pretty much does everything you want it to do. The one thing that's interesting, though, is that Spectrum doesn't mimic any of the other powers that the masks have. It has its own set, but it doesn't shoot fire like, Torch, or it doesn't shoot that, venom acid thing that Viper shoots. It has its own abilities, but surrounds the other masks. And it's something that, it gets talked about very little, is that all the other masks are single powered except for Spectrum. So it's cool to see that there was a little more intention put into this one. And at the bottom of that page, Mayhem. So if you saw the first review, I talked about the green and black grid and the red and black grid for the Venom and Mask agents. You can see what the artist did here is he did green on one side and red on the other, kind of kind of showing you the pattern that's going through Mayhem's mind from good to bad. So I like that. That's very cool thing there. Now, this was my favorite part of the comic. So we we have Hondo in there's a timestamp here at 5:45 a.m. and Hondo's going. I like all this practice and everything, but I got to get to school. So it's funny that we have that kind of like still pulling in the elements of their old positions, their old jobs. So it's funny when you see that, and you have Alex and Matt there. There's some back and forth, but Hondo is practicing with Hurricane against Condor's Brad's hocus pocus mask. He's throwing up some holograms or illusions for him to try to fire at this practice, and it's just it's a cool little scene. You have a good back and forth between Hondo and Brad, and I just like it a lot. So we go down a little bit to the next page, and I don't know if this was supposed to look like Scott. If it was, I was hoping he would get run over. But we have Rax and Dagger picking on a hiker, or not a hiker, a runner hiker. And they knock over a statue of Andy, and kind of we see some typical thuggery from the agents of Venom here, and there's a cool line, torch on, so flame on would be Fantastic Four, but you get it. And we have Hondo teaching at the Trakker School for the Motivated. So as you can see from the first episode, the first issue, whatever you want to call it, Matt is much more well known in this comic universe, and he's got a school named after him. So think about that. And Hondo teaches there. So I'm pretty sure if an emergency comes up, Hondo doesn't have to get special permission to leave. He probably just do it. And there's a shout out to the Breakfast Club here, and we see so the kids see Hondo drive off in Hurricane, and they're like, wow, I didn't know he was that cool. So it's a cool little tidbit there. So what we have here is we have Brad and Hondo responding to what the Venom agents were doing just a few panels ago, where they basically started a fire in a park. So they're able to get in there and kind of quell it, but then we see the interaction between the Venom agents and the M.A.S.K agents, where you have Brad, who's still relatively new, I would say, and we get some cool back and forth. And what I like is that you could feel the sense of danger in these panels. Sometimes in the cartoon, you wouldn't have that feeling, right? You could tell something was going to happen, but with the way that the panels are colored, like the background, the sky being like a burnt orange color, you're experiencing the scene. That there's the fire, there's all this impending danger, and you don't get that a lot in the cartoon. It just doesn't transpire that way. It wasn't supposed to. Let's see here. So the one thing I do really like about this. So all right. So Hondo knocks Cliff Dagger out of the top turret, right? And Brad's in the air, and he uses a hologram of a T-Rex. So them not really fully knowing the power of that mask yet would lead to this being something that really does work, because all of a sudden a T-Rex comes out of nowhere and is chasing you. I don't care if this is, I don't care what time period it is, that's going to scare the hell out of anybody. And it works. They escape, they get out of there, and Brad and Honda basically save the day. And then, so Brad asks if he should follow. Matt kind of pulls everybody back, and Buddy calls into the team saying that they've been attacked at Boulder Hill. And poor Buddy, this is the second time in the line so far that he's kind of been surprised and overtaken. So Rax and Dagger almost seem like a decoy to get the M.A.S.K team away from Boulder Hill, and then you have Mayhem and Vanessa show up and take on Buddy, and with his powers Penetrator, I mean, you have Whip and Viper. It's not really a strong match. So pretty much they go in to steal the notes that Andy had on all the masks, and he's going to basically try to create his own technology based on it. So Mayhem, being the evil genius that he is, knew exactly how to strike this. So it sets up for an interesting third story. So you have Mayhem with the ability now to create more masks. Maybe it'll be Nash Gory, maybe it'll be Bruno, maybe it'll be Lester. There's all kinds of things that can happen here. Or maybe that artist will create new characters based off of just his own ideas. That would be pretty cool too, to kind of work that in. But you have a relatively small team right now on the M.A.S.K side, ready to do what they can against Venom. But the problem is that they don't seem to be cohesive yet. So as they build, obviously they're going to get a little better suited for each other. But I can see, I think I see how this is going to go, but I don't want to give too much away here. But let me know your thoughts on this number 2 comic out of the 4, and just like I said, let the artist know what you think of it, because people like him, they do this. It's for free. This is a passion project, and you don't have to say everything's great, right? But everything is, obviously. Tell them what you like about it. Tell them, give them an idea of what you might have done in a certain situation. Their criticism, as long as it's not like bashing somebody, be constructive. In my first review, I said I didn't like the color on the M.A.S.K 85 logo, but that was just me. I wasn't being like, change it or the world will end, or something along those lines. But I just thought it would have stood out a little better one way, but that doesn't mean it's right. Post your comments, post your anything really. But again, great job, and I can't wait to see issue number 3. And maybe one day down the road we'll get together and we'll talk about some of your ideas through the series, and just get to talk M.A.S.K for a little bit. Till next time, this is Bill from Matt-Trakker.com, and I'll talk to you later.